Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyards channel. My name is Charisma and today we're meeting in the garden and I'm going to give you a little update on all of our proven winners annuals. So if you were with us earlier this spring, you know that we went up to Godfrey's nursery and we bought all of our proven winner annuals, and this year my theme was pink lemonade. So all of our flowers are pink and yellow this year. They've done fantastic. I love them. It was just like a really, really fun year in annuals. Well, with the whole garden, of course, but I had a really great experience with the Proven Winners annuals. I'm going to go plant by plant with you, give you some specs, and give you some idea of what is going on in our garden. As a reminder, we live on the Oregon coast in a zone 9A. We are a very temperate zone 9A. We stay pretty cool in the summer. Our average summer temps are like 68 to 72. We've had, some hotter days than that, but most of the time it's pretty comfortable. We have a lot of foggy, overcast kind of days because we're right on the coast, and what happens is the valley gets really hot and it pulls all the moisture in from the ocean, and it kind of puts a blanket over our garden in the summertime. The reason I want to do this today is because we're about to experience 2 days of rain, and we're at the end of the summer. We might have 3, maybe pushing it 4 more weeks of bloom time on our annuals if it didn't rain. With the rains coming and the annuals already starting to look a little tired, I just don't know how they're going to bounce back. We'll fertilize after the rain. We'll probably get to, enjoy the flowers a little bit more, but I just don't think they're going to look this good again after these 2 days of rain. I could be wrong. They could totally prove me wrong. I don't know. But I did want to give you the opportunity to see them. They're not going to grow much bigger than they are right now, and they're loaded with blooms. They look absolutely gorgeous. They were all planted as pint size annuals. So to see the difference from then to now, it's super fun. I'll make sure that I link the video that when we planted them all in the description below. So if you're curious to what it looked like before, you can check that video out when you're done watching this one. So I'm going to turn around the camera. We're going to start up here on the deck, and we'll check out all of the planters on the deck, and then we'll get out into the garden. So in our hanging baskets, both hanging baskets, we have one Super Tunia Vista bubblegum. And they did terrific. I thought it was kind of strange that they grow in this horizontal pattern. I've not trimmed this plant. I did not trim it to do this. It just grew that way. And it's just now starting to get enough weight to sort of drape. So I just think that's really interesting. The really fun thing with Proven Winner annuals is you do not have to deadhead them. So these are petunias, but they are bred by Proven Winners to what they call burying the dead. So you could see all this bright, colorful flower, and then underneath here, you could see all the spent blooms. You could see that very well. You could see kind of all the dried up spent blooms, and then it just keeps blooming on the top, and you don't see that as much. Now you do see some tired ones, some in between spaces. It did rain a little bit this morning, so yeah, they're not looking as hot as they could, but they're looking pretty good. And then in our porch baskets, we have the Super Tunia mini Vista yellows, and we have the Superbena pink cashmere. Now, for some reason, on the porch, the pink cashmeres just didn't perform that great. Maybe they need more room. I don't think so, because I have one in a really tight space in another container, so maybe they just don't get enough sun here. I don't know. But the mini Vista yellows look fantastic. They filled in really nicely. This one had a double up pink begonia that kind of got like a really tall stalk and then barely bloomed. So I ended up getting tired of looking at the stalk, like a tree begonia, and got rid of that. So it's just a solid. There's 2 mini vistas in each one of these baskets. You can see the Superbena pink cashmere is in better bloom on this one. Again, I do not have to deadhead these Superbenas. This is a type of verbena bred by proven winners, and really fun that you don't really have to maintain them. They're heavy feeders. We do fertilize them once a week, and maybe they could be fertilized more, but we don't water that much to warrant that. We don't get hot enough. I don't know. Maybe next year we'll try twice a week on the fertilizing and see if it changes anything, if it helps maybe get that draping effect faster. Because I don't think I'm going to experience that before the end comes. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get into the garden now. Oh, before I forget, I did pot up this shade basket for St. Patrick's Day. You can see I have some shamrocks in here. They're still going strong. But I did find this is a white bacopa from Proven Winners, and this one will overwinter for us. I'll just have to cut it back. It does great in the shade, filtered light, and it's like just super fun. We've grown this a couple of different times, and it always comes back for us. I did try to see if I could get this double up begonia to root and grow after I cut it off of its rootstock, and I have 2 tiny little leaves coming up, so maybe it'll live. Now, technically, you aren't supposed to repropagate branded plants like that, but I'm not planning on selling that or even giving it away. So I think that it's, you know, responsible and respectful to go ahead and divide or propagate or hold over winter a plant for your own garden. Now, if I were to take a bunch of cuttings and propagate them that way and then start selling them, that's unethical and illegal. So that's not what I'm talking about. If you ever see that I have propagated a branded plant like a Proven Winners plant, or, you know, divided them and moved them around my garden, that's just for my own personal use, and that is okay to do. It's when you go and you try to sell them, or you're giving them away to organizations that are selling, then you get into some pretty dirty water, and I highly recommend you don't do that. I just wanted to put that in there in case anybody's watching this and is wondering, hey, are we supposed to be propagating Proven Winner plants? No, but it's okay if it's just for you and your personal garden, and you're not using it to, you know, benefit another organization or to fund your, like, your nursery or something like that, or your landscape company or whatever. All right, let's get the camera turned around and we'll start going through annuals in the front yard. In the beginning of the front yard, we have 2 containers with lovey-dovey super tunias. This is not in the Vista series, but you can see one pint size lovey-dovey fills in that container nicely, and it looks beautiful. It did have a little mini rose that got taken over by earwig, so I took that out. And this one had a volunteer Dusty Miller in it that I had completely forgotten was in that pot, and it started growing, and so I just left it there. And then there is a mini rose on this side that needs to be deadheaded, that was matching the one over here. And then we have the lovey-dovey super tunia in here. Really pretty, really fun, white with the pink stripe. I have found that I don't get budworm here, which people experience with their super tunias, but I do have slugs, and they don't tend to go to the super tunias as heavily as some other plants, and I'll show you one that they completely destroyed. But we do use this Captain Jack's bug and slug killer to control our slugs. Okay, let's keep moving forward. And the next ones we come to, again, Super Tunia Vista bubblegum. And they are in these little containers. They're 14-inch containers. I think they're like a 2-gallon. And they totally filled them out, looking really great. This one, I hadn't really thought about how I was going to play with the euonymus back there, but it's perfect. It's got that pink lemonade all over it. Okay, and then we have Proven Winners Suncredibles right here. We have 2 of them. They've been blooming for months and months and months, and the more you deadhead them, the more they bloom, and I highly recommend staying on top of deadheading them because they really do bloom quickly when you stay on top of your deadheading. Beyond the Suncredibles, we have another Super Tunia Super Tunia Vista bubblegum, and again, this is one plant, and it's twice the size of all the other bubblegums in the garden. I don't know why. It's really protected, kind of like in this little nook behind a barberry and a Curia japonica. It also has a little bit of rose campium, kind of doing a little pink play with it, but just, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It was in bloom when the pink sea thrift was blooming. That was a really cute look too. There's a couple blooming right here. So these little pom-pom blooms with the big bells, it's just like a fun little combination. And then we have, oh, quick side note, because I just noticed it, the Beyond Midnight Bluebeard shrub is blooming. Oh my gosh, I've never grown one of these before, and I see Jenny at Creekside growing them, and I saw one for sale and had to pick it up. It was a discount plant. I'm so glad I picked it up. It's looking so pretty right there. That is super fun. Late season bloomer. Those, you don't find late season bloomers like that very often, so that is like a really special gem to have. Okay, and then in this pot I have the Super Tunia Saffron Finch from Proven Winners. Oh my goodness, did it get eaten by slugs so bad this early spring, but it bounced back and it looks fantastic. We just kept feeding her, and she's looking good. I love it. Real quick, we did some renovating in our house, removed our pellet stove, and we've never used it since we moved into the house, and I've wanted it gone. So we're putting in new ceilings, and the chimney needed to be removed. So thank goodness we just took the whole thing. It's getting removed from the property tomorrow, but yeah, that's what that's doing here. Okay, so I wanted to show you this. This is, you know, people are driving down this road, and this is what they get to see. The yellow with the pink. Love, love, love. Okay, we're gonna pan over. We've got the Super Tunia Vista Jazzberry, which is actually a pretty good large plant, but we almost lost it twice, and because of slugs, and it just struggled so hard. And just in the last month, it just got really green and really beautiful and looking terrific. Something that I will consider is what is growing around here in early spring that the slugs are living in or hanging out in. Most likely the iris that needs to be taken down. That they tend to come up here a lot. So getting rid of something like that, so that or not planting annual so close to those areas is something to consider, like something you want to. It's always a good idea when you're taking a walk around the garden and noticing things that are successful or that are failures or had a transition time. What was the reason? What was happening in the garden? What was happening in your life? You know, because sometimes we just get busy and we ignore parts of our garden. So like really pay attention to what was going on and how can that be corrected or supported in future years. All right, so I'm gonna come back over here. We have these two little pots. These are 12 inches, so they're like smaller than the ones back there. We had we had Proven Winners lemon slice Super Bells in both of these containers twice. And they got completely eaten. And then I transplanted new ones. This one survived, has not bloomed in like a month. And this one died immediately. And I just kind of gave up. Like, okay, like that, I can only do so much. So, Super Bells I've had trouble with before, with slugs and earwig. So something to keep in mind if I'm going to grow Super Bells again. Another little side note, but because it is a Proven Winners plant and it is an annual in some areas, is this amazing Vermillionaire. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It has so many blooms. It is in a pot. It would get 18 to 28 inches. It's definitely 18 inches. Probably, I wouldn't say it's 28, but probably like 22. And it says it's an annual except in zones 8A to 11B. Hardy down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. We did a overwinter one. And I thought that I would have this walkway flanked by Vermillionaire. There's one there, and there's one in this pot. And then I had all these snapdragons volunteer themselves, and all this borage volunteer themselves this year. So we have Vermillionaire in here doing its best. It took a long time for it to grow taller than these snapdragons, which have been blooming prolifically all summer long. So this spring, when I came in here and I had no idea all these snapdragons were going to come back, I had the vermillionaire, knew that it was there, and I planted this Supertunia. Look, see, there's a slug right there. Right there. It even has a wound. We don't salt our slugs, so that's not for me. Anyway, so look at it. It's so big. It's so gross. Ugh. I have nothing out here to grab it with. I'm not going to touch it with my hands. They're slimy and sticky. Okay, anyway, we have the Vivid Orchid. This is the Supertunia Vivid Orchid. Super fun plant. It would have gotten much larger. You can see little peaks of it over here. Had I not had all these snapdragons just like taking over. I really love this plant. It's got such a clean white borderline. I really love it. It's so striking. And I will grow that again, just more mindful of what in the world is growing around it. So in this container, we have the Superbena pink shades. I'm not sure which. I think it's just pink shades. But it's this really hot pink Superbena. And then this is the a Supertunia Silverberry, and it overwintered. Like, I just cut it back. I thought I just cut it to the soil, and I didn't want to disturb the soil because I have these marshmallow growing in it, and so I just cut it at the crown and figured it'll just, like, it won't come back and it'll just rot out in the soil. Well, then it started leafing out, and it's been blooming all summer long. Now, the coloration is kind of faded. It's not as striking, and I don't think, I didn't grow any other silverberries this year because purple wasn't my theme this year. So, I don't think that the flowers are as big as they were originally. But I was super excited to see it come back. Definitely was not expecting a petunia to come back. Moving down a little further here, we have the, I always forget the name of this. It's almost like I should never grow it ever again because I can never remember the name of it. Really pretty. I think it lends a little bit more purple than pink, but it does have this really fun chartreuse green on the tips of each petal. It's really, I think it's really sweet. I've got a geranium growing in it. That's not ideal. Okay. That is one of the problems with growing any annual in the ground, is you do have to kind of weed them. More so, I find, than in pots. Okay, so that is, and I love this view of the garden right now with the Supertunia and the phlox and the Nephofia and the different Supertunias and Verbenas, and we have gladiolas and the jazzberry and crocosmia in the background, the vermillionaire. Like, look at this. It's just like so much fun. All right, let's go up to the estate garden, or what I call the estate garden. It's really just the corner of our property, and see what the Supertunias look like in the ground up there. You could already see a little sneak peek of them right there. I just wanted to point out this is our Vertigo pendisetum. It doesn't get very big here. In other gardens, you see them being like 8 feet tall. That one's maybe 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet at the very, very tippy top. I am gonna try maybe digging it out and keeping it in my greenhouse for the winter and see if it'll come back and have a chance to grow even more. I don't know. All right, so Here they are. They're so pretty. We did not have drip on them all summer until like the very last few weeks. So we were hand watering. I'm sure if it had more consistent deep watering, it would have even been a better display. So we have 4 of the Supertunia Vista bubblegum and 3 of the Saffron Finch. And you can see the difference. They were all planted at the same time. They were all fertilized exactly the same. They were all watered exactly the same. And so you could see the difference between the Vista series and the Supertunia series right there. But I absolutely adore it, and I love this view. You could see this is the front of our property. Like, here's the road, and you could see this, and then through the trees you can see the matching containers up on the porch. Love it. And that is why I will do theme gardens or theme annuals every time. I mean, that is so fun when you just look over the garden and there's repetitive patterns, and you could just, it just like brings your eye all the way into the garden and through the garden, and it just really makes everything feel so cohesive, even when there's all kinds of other things going on. So you can see that even from the street view, you can see how all of the annuals look this year. Just so fun. Let's head into the backyard. Quick peek before we go upstairs. Look at this amazing impatient pillow underneath our Mexican hydrangea or peanut butter tree. It turned out exactly like I had hoped. These are not proven winners, but Proven Winners does have an impatient, and I would love to get my hands on one of their impatiens for next year when I do more of these pillow rings. I have to have them everywhere. All right, my camera is about to lose its battery life, so we're gonna make this quick. Thankfully, we don't have a ton of annuals back here. We do have a ton of annuals, not a ton of new annuals. So we've already talked about the specs. We're just gonna look at what they look like. One exception is this Black-Eyed Susan vine. This is the Proven Winners Black-Eyed Susan vine, and it is just absolutely so much fun. It's also, there's one buttercream nasturtium mixed in with it that we grew from seed. It was actually a volunteer seed that happened to be in that little tire. We are so happy with how that looks. It's just like the funnest little planter this year. Okay, so we're gonna turn around, and we've got lovey-doveys in these raised beds, looking pretty tired, but looking amazing. It filled in and spilled over exactly like I had hoped, and it creeped up behind the cannas. It's just so fun. It's even like getting in our walkway. But it just gave such a huge bright pop of color, and they bloomed for so long. It was such a pleasure to have in the garden. Of course now the fireweed's shown off. But yes, looking gorgeous. Okay, look over here. More of the lemon slice super bells. Dead. Here you go. You get to finally see one. It has the cutest little flowers, but like so not happy. This is the Proven Winners Giant Pink. This is not a Vista series, but would you look at how huge. And okay, I did not know this dahlia got this big. I was not expecting that when I planted these giant pinks. So kudos to her for finding ways to show off, even though her pot got completely filled with a dahlia. Yeah, just another reason I absolutely adore her. But look at the blooms. Look at how huge these are. They're so much fun. Absolutely. Just the funnest. Okay. What other proven winners do I have? Back here in the moon garden, we have Mini Vista White. So again, looking kind of tired, but they're all growing up in here. I just recently kind of cut that one back because I was doing some other things, but look at it, just crawled all over the place. And then we have this is a white, this is a Proven Winners White Impatient. Look at that, it's so big and beautiful. And just bold leaves, bright, big flowers, just so much fun. Up here we have another lovey-dovey. So we've got a lovey-dovey here and then the two back there. Again, just looking a little tired at the end of the season here. In this container back here, we've got this volunteer sunflower. Where did you come from? And we've got a weed. We don't need a weed. Okay. All right, so I've got, are these proven winners? I don't remember. Maybe. Okay. Okay, so I think the only proven winners that I have in this container is the double up white begonia, and it has this really dark purpley foliage, which is fun. These are Diachondra Silver Falls. Proven Winners does have one of those. It's just not their brand, and you can see it's not spilling over as well as maybe their brand would. And then down here we have just a repeat of the double up white begonia. Look at it. It's so beautiful. It loves this space so much. Got all these beautiful little white flowers, super cute. This one is also planted with white lobelia and Diachondra Silver Falls. But this Proven Winners double up white begonia, spectacular. And a repeat of the same container option there. I did have a Mini Vista White in here. It just got super leggy and mixed in with this nasturtium. Yeah, that's just like, it's done. It's the end of the season and it's done. These containers and the hanging baskets is a little sneak peek of what this garden is going to experience, this moon garden is going to experience next season. The combination was inspired by the 2025 Proven Winners recipe champagne toast, and I'm calling it the midnight toast because it's all like black and white, right? So, or maybe the New Year's Eve toast. So really excited. I have a big plan for what I'm going to do and all over this moon garden. It's just going to be, oh, I can see it in my head already. I'm so excited for next season already. And in the moon garden here, we have the Bruala, and it is a perennial, I believe. Oh no, that's the double up white. Where is the tag? This is the Endless Flirtation Bruala, and let's see, it gets 12 to 16 inches tall and wide, which is really close to that size now. And it is an annual except in zones 9A to 10B, hardy down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. So we shall see. Some years we get down to like 30 degrees in the winter. So woo, right there on the borderline. But I think I might mulch it really good at the end of the season, like cut it back and mulch it. And hopefully we could get it to come back next year. Okay, the last ones are up on the containers. We did plant a non-Proven Winner variety petunia in here, but then we also planted this Proven Winners coleus, and it is the only coleus that lived, and it didn't get very big. The other coleus, let's pop down here really quick. We planted in this container. We planted 4 in the back of this container. And this one tried to kind of sort of hang on, but it really just didn't do very good. But you could see the impatiens and the begonias are super happy here. Those are not proven winter begonias or impatiens, but love that they're happy there. All right, let's take a look at these last containers for our Proven Winners annual tour for 2024. In this first container, we have the Mini Vista Yellow and the Pink Star Super Bell, I believe. Is it a Super Bell? I believe it is. I usually keep a tag in the edge somewhere. Just why you see me searching around, and maybe I didn't in this one. Anyway, loved this container. Did absolutely fantastic all summer long. I even commented a couple of different times it was my favorite container of the year. Loved it. Loved the combination. They played really well with each other. And then this is the Mini Vista Yellow with the pink cashmere. The pink cashmere really loved this location. Look at her. She's like so tall and sparkly. Spencer really loved this container. He liked the pink cashmere coming up out of the container like that. I kind of loved this mounding one better. So different strokes for different folks. But the pink cashmere is such a beautiful blush color. It's so sweet. We did really love growing that Super Beana this year. Well, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you were inspired by the Proven Winner Annuals. They are so worth having in the garden. They just give so much color and beauty. We've grown a lot of different types of annuals in our garden, and even with the understanding of fertilizing, which we did have a little bit better of success with a couple of different types of petunias in the garden, with more fertilization because we were on a schedule for the Proven Winners, but they did nowhere near the performance. And the other thing that I find with everyday, like whatever brand petunias, I do not like the way they smell. So I cannot have them like on my porch like this at all. And they're like in my trunk, and just like 1 or 2, I can smell them in the car, and it, like, oh, I do not like the way they smell. The Proven Winner petunias or super bells, or well, the super bells are like a caliprocoa, but the super petunias and the mini vistas, they don't smell like that. They just smell like plants. You know, plants have a smell. That's fine. They do have a you know, their own unique smell, but they don't smell like overpowering, almost like cat urine smell that most petunias smell like to me. So that alone makes them a huge winner in my book. I'm already dreaming about next year and what's going to be in the garden for next year's theme. So make sure that you're subscribed, because I will share next year's theme of the garden in a video coming out probably in like 2 months, when I've really got it like nailed down. But until then, keep celebrating your life, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye. Oh, there's little bugs flying around.